You're listening to the No BS Bishop podcast. We're alive to love, and all other values are potential BS. Now here's your host, Bishop Randy Dean.
Welcome to you all, you beautiful people. I'm Bishop Randy Dean. It's my pleasure, my joy, my honor to be with you again for this episode of the No BS Bishop. I am alive to love. I believe all lesser values than love are potentially BS. BS as in the manner in which you think it might be, and BS for the purposes of this program is bait and switch, because there's entirely too much of our lifestyle based on bait and switch. We bait people in with a sales pitch, whether it be material things we're selling or emotional or psychological stuff or political stuff. Bait them in, then we switch to our real agenda. And I am convinced that we're living in a time when people are exhausted from the bait and switch, the shell game that is being played on us over and over again. I'm inviting you to the power of love. I'm inviting you to rise and shine to the beauty and the significance, the weightiness, the authenticity of living for love alone. So that's why I'm here with this radio broadcast, this podcast, week in and week out. I've been at this now for 6 years. It's a joy and delight for me. And as I say often here, I could unpack the truths and the revelation of love for the rest of my life and never really, genuinely plumb its heights, its depths, and its width. It's important, I believe, for several of us, me and however many of you could join me in this pursuit. It's so vital to make this pursuit and pilgrimage of love a high, if not the highest, priority of our humanity. All right, and to that end, what I like to do here is a couple of things on the regular, a manner in which we can set the stage for where we're going. And what I like to offer you is Love's Creed. It's something I wrote years ago. I've edited it multiple times, and it's down to this refined version that I'll share with you in a moment. What I'll do is I'll read it in total. I'll come back, and then I'll ask you to repeat after me like a bride and groom at a wedding altar. It's just important, I think, not only to hear things, but to make notes of them or to say them out loud and make it ours, even if it's just letting our brain synapses work with the words and form some container for what we're saying, okay? All right, here's Love's Creed, something I've written, and I'm hoping you will partner with me in it. Here we go. I'm alive to love. I am not on this earth for hate. I'm alive for love. I'm not breathing, eating, and sleeping to regain energy for causing pain. I am alive with plans, dreams, and designs locked into anything and everything that is love. I am unavailable for anything less than love. All right, that's it in total. Let me go back. Join me in repeating after me. Make it yours. Join it to your thoughts and your meditation. I'm inviting you to this process, this mountain climb I'm calling love. Here we go. I'm alive to love. I am not on this earth for hate. I'm alive for love. I'm not breathing, eating and sleeping to regain energy for causing pain. I am alive with plans, dreams, and designs locked into anything and everything that is love. I am unavailable for anything less than love. There it is. If you'd like a copy, send me an email at randydeanministries@gmail.com. That's Randy Dean Ministries, all lowercase, all one word, at Gmail. It'd be a delight and pleasure for me to send you a copy of it. Now, before I go forward in how we work this work we call love, how to work the labor of love, I want to say the Lord's Prayer with you. And I think today it's as much for me maybe than anybody else. I am in need of this prayer that settles my anxieties. It settles my, my presuppositions about how fair some things are or unfair other things are. The Lord's Prayer gives me a place to just be grown up and to stay in my properties of love and my calling of love without following the siren call to other temptations like the politics of our time and the battles of our day, the relationship failures going on, and quite frankly, multiple sorrows that my eyes are not avoiding. I refuse to avoid sorrow because I want my love to be deepened by reality. But the Lord's Prayer keeps me stationed, settled, strong. And I'm inviting you to join me in that settledness so that you can love with a proper strength. All right? I know many of you know the Lord's Prayer. I also know some of you don't know the Lord's Prayer. I'm not worried whether you know it or not. I just want you to listen in if you don't know it and join me if you do in the manner in which Jesus taught us to pray when he said, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Okay, there you have it. It's a psychological, spiritual pinnacle of life to stand on when sometimes other things just don't have a proper standing to hang on. Hang on to that. It's a prayer prayed by millions of people for 2,000 years, and I'm convinced it is a stationary way to move forward, if that makes sense, a place to stand with a stationary confidence, and then to keep moving based on those majestic words of Jesus. Well, speaking of majestic words, there is this one word that you might guess I'm after, and it's the word of love. It is a majestic word. It's the hardest work you'll ever engage. I promise you that. And especially when the opposite of love gets practiced with seeming glee by multiple folks and loud voices around us. The temptation to join them in their glee and living for less than love it's real. But I'm here to assure you that if we give in to that siren call of hatred and bitterness and rancor, we give in to the the most common denominator of failure in human existence and the least strengthening power for our lives. To just live your life on the candy and empty calories, emotionally speaking, of hatred, bitterness, argument, fighting. It will empty your soul. It will draw your soul into a bottomless pit. And that's why I say to live anything lesser than love is to be drawn into the rabbit hole, the dark holes of conspiratorial thinking and only defining life by the means of how we are divided against each other. I'm here to offer you a brave calling to work the works of love. I will not mess with you and tell you this is easy. I refuse to bait and switch you. Love is hard work. It'll be the hardest work you'll ever do, and it'll also be the most rewarding work you will ever do. When we love, and when we love at a level that is pulling us upward and forward in life, we will recognize that our life will have been lived for the most incredible, rewarding pursuit that you can imagine. And that is to have been unselfish, to look beyond just my needs, my wants, my ideas, my version of truth, To be a lover means I'm a loving listener. And to be a good, loving listener means that I'm showing the respect that others, that I seek, I think I deserve, and give others the same respect of having been listened to with love. I've said here before, when we attempt to shrink love, we're shrinking God. God is love. Love is God. Those who dwell in God dwell in love. Those who dwell in love dwell in God. And when we attempt to shrink love or make love this manageable little carousel pony, this trick pony that we put a quarter in outside of an old store. If you've seen those old stories of those old photos of a little child's ride of a pony outside of a store, you drop a quarter in, that little pony gives you a soft ride. That is not love. Love's a wild bronc, and the wild ride of love will create for you multiple challenges, and every one of those challenges is worth it. It grants us the strengthening exercises of living, not predicting how everybody else is going to be, but predicating our life. Hear that carefully. I'm not living to predict what you're going to say or do. I'm living in a predication of love, no matter what you do or say. So when we limit love, we limit God. And I'm here week in and week out, radio broadcast, podcast, my blog, my Sunday night sanctuary on Facebook Live. I'm there every Sunday night, Central Time, 6 p.m. And love is my theme. Love is my drum that I beat. It's a passion, and it's a passion that I think is going to need to grow not only in myself but in thousands of others. We must learn the courage to remove limitations on love. The courage to remove limitations and say, well, love doesn't work here or there. But to put love in the category of it will work at all times with all people, at all ways, in all seasons, in all manners of living in this world. Love has no limitation for its efficacy. Efficacy means it's workable. It's doable. It's healing. Efficacy means it works at a deep level. It's curative. Love has an efficacy that is unlimited. And it's my role to call you and to keep calling myself to remove all those limitations on how love may or may not arrive or be efficacious. You know, I just see that as soon as we seem to need some kind of limit on love, we can love here, but we got to stop there. As soon as we're doing that, we're not looking for how to love expansively. We're looking how to shrink love to what is doable in our own limited vision and version of life. Jesus said, all things are possible to those who believe. Well, Jesus wasn't lying. Jesus was the truth in human form. All things are possible. He said if you spoke to this mountain, the mountain would move. I think we need to learn to speak to the mountain of hate, speak to the mountain of divisiveness, speak to the mountain of political miseries, and call ourselves higher than any mountain of obstacles, and to the height and the breadth and the depth and the beauty and the strength of love. Now, make no mistake about it. Love will tiptoe close to a sickness I call, and multiple people call, codependency. Love gets really close to the edge of codependency. Now, what is codependency? Well, simply put, codependency is fixing, managing, controlling, recruiting, enlisting, converting people. It's seeking to manage other people in a means by which they won't manage their own life. They will work harder on them than they're willing to work on themselves. Love is not codependency, and yet love will risk looking over the precipice ledge of codependency and recognize I've got to step back from that ledge and stay in the heights of love. A lady by the name of Barbara Brown Taylor, a Episcopal priest, said these words: "The hardest spiritual work in the world is to love the neighbor as yourself, to encounter another human being not as someone to fix, change, use, help, save, enroll, convince, or control, but simply as someone who can spring you from the prison of yourself if you will allow it." So Barbara Brown Taylor here is telling us, and she's teaching us, that love will be a balance in life that will cause you to consider codependency. But if we go into codependency, we're not living our life, we're living somebody else's life. But if we live love, we're living our life. And then we're offering other people to live with that love and to spring ourselves from the trap and the prison of hating our neighbor, not giving room for our neighbor to be accepted for who they are, how they live, how they think, their choices they've made. I know we live in a time when a lot of people are tempted to legislate religious commands, to legislate how people are going to live their life spiritually speaking, put the 10 Commandments up in a school room. I find that to be a foolish measure, because we're shoving our religion down people's throats. Love doesn't shove itself down anybody's throat. But you say, but the 10 Commandments are universal. Well, then we need to back up from all that and say, all right, then the most universal command of all is one command: love. So I would propose that if we're going to be tempted to shove anything down anybody's throat, let's do what we do with love. But love is an invitation. It's not a forced issue on anybody. Love is an invitation to be this giving, truly giving, truly offering solutions without demands or repercussions or retribution if you don't follow my command. That's what unconditional love is really all about. So to that end, when we really love, we're putting a command on our own classroom heart, aren't we? Not a 10 Commandment set of rules that they work fine, but the greater command. Jesus said, "I came to fulfill the law and the prophets." And on this one command, all the law and the prophets are hanging, and it's love. Love does no harm to their neighbor. Love seeks no retribution or a sense of having a payback from somebody who's done wrong. Love risks at high levels. Love is a risk of high-level living. Codependency, however, will support other people's inadequacies and just sort of wink and nod and smile at their inadequacies. No, love says, I'm going to live in a higher level here where I'm not going to sink down into your dysfunction, but I'm going to rise to the calling of love and show you something more rewarding, more strengthening, more stabilizing, and a more giving life that love really becomes. When we allow the love of God a completely unlimited scope of reference, we are then beginning to live in a place of freedom for ourselves and freedom for all. When we live in the love of God, we're living in a place of freedom for ourselves. I'm not here to fix, manage, control. I'm free from the dysfunction of others that seems to beckon me into a judging, shaming, controlling lifestyle. Love loves in the face of dysfunction, but love lives large enough to refuse to regulate someone else's life. The only life I have to regulate is my own. The only life I have to manage is my own. The only life I have to fix is my own. The only life that I seek to live by the 10 Commandments that I demand is my own. But I demand it of me on the basis of the nuclear power of love alone. allowing the love of God a completely unlimited scope of reference in how I define my life, how I define my thinking, how I define my relationships, how I define the world around me. That love is all you need, the Beatles sang once upon a time, and whether they knew it or not, they were right. Love is all we really need. In 1956, in a small book called Facing the Challenge of a New Day, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said these words: "We have before us the glorious opportunity to inject a new dimension of love into the veins of civilization. There is still a voice crying out that echoes across the generations, saying, 'Love your enemies. Bless them that curse you. Pray for them that despitefully use you, that you may be children of your Father which is in heaven.' This might well be the salvation of our civilization." Remember the reference point I gave you about Dr. King's quote here, 1956. Long before any kind of healthy integration had been happening in our nation, just in the very infancy stages of civil rights, as he battled for the healing of our nation beyond our death throes, our lack of capacity for living with one another in a healthy way. Excuse me. I am utterly convinced, completely convinced, that Dr. King's model is the model we need to resurrect for our time. To have see the world around us as a glorious opportunity to inject a new dimension of love into the veins of civilization. I think we're in such a time that's, I think, is a setup for the real revelation of love. That the constricted notions and the political gyrations that are happening around us really are an invitation for somebody to inject into the veins of civilization this revelation of love. And as Dr. King said, there's still a voice crying out that echoes across the generations saying, love your enemies. Yeah, love your enemies. Doesn't mean you give credit to their ideas. It means you give credit to their humanity. And that you demonstrate by loving your enemy that they're worthy of hearing, even if their ideas are not worthy of agreeing to and cooperating with. That our enemy as a human is worthy of love. That love your enemies, Jesus said. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who despitefully use you, so that you may be children of your Father who is in heaven. This might well be the salvation of our civilization, Dr. King said. I know some people would say, oh, that's for a different time. He didn't know the challenges we would live today. And I would say, oh my goodness, that would be such a shallow way to see Dr. King's words in 1956. He was living in a time when the darkness was so thick you could cut it with a knife. He was stabbed and beaten. His home was firebombed. And he was ultimately assassinated. For what? For dreaming the dream of love right out loud. Yeah, it's hard work. And the hardest work that you'll ever engage, as Barbara Brown Taylor said, the hardest spiritual work in the world is to love your neighbor as yourself. To encounter another person not as somebody to be codependent over, to fix, manage, control, but to give love the opportunity to spring me from the prison of myself. All right, well, I want to close today as I do every time, and that is, I've been pretty passionate today, and I want to invite you in the middle of your passion and mine, breathe deep, breathe well, all right? You heard me cough a few minutes ago, and that's my reminder. Okay, Randy, you need to breathe a little better. Your body's asking for oxygen. So, on the count of 3, I want you to take a deep breath and realize this is just rehearsal. This isn't the whole exercise. But it's an invitation to learn how to treat yourself well with rhythmic and healthy breathing. On the count of 3, take the deepest breath you can and hold it. 1, 2, 3. Inhale. Hold it. And exhale. You'll lower your blood pressure. You'll calm your nerves. You'll settle your thoughts. You'll give your body a small sabbatical. And when you do that, you give yourself peace. The peace of the strength of love. Second thing I like to invite you to do is join me in an exercise that I just am so convinced. I am delighted to be known as somebody who challenges people to say, I love you. If you've been here with me before, you know that I describe those 3 words as holy, magical, charmed, but they're also weird. And it fits into the theme of today's hard work of love. When we give people those 3 words, we're creating a path of connection that may not happen any other way. We're also creating for people their own path to find their way toward healing. Because people all around us haven't heard those 3 words in any kind of significant authenticity. And maybe you're the first person in a while to show up and to say, I love you. Try it with somebody. Try it with your spouse, your significant other, your mom, your dad. But listen to me carefully. When I say I love you, I'm not just playing games. I'm not just flipping a quarter into a beggar's tin cup. I'm significantly in hopes that those 3 words would pull somebody out of the trap of self-destruction. And if no one else is benefited by it, I am benefited by it. Because it creates, as Barbara Brown Taylor said, a place for me to be sprung from the prison of myself. Ooh, all right? Well, remember, the biggest mistake we make is thinking we still have time. Be present. Be kind. Love more. Love now. There's no better time than this moment now to love. Mother Teresa said, go into all the world today and love the people you meet. Let your presence light new light in the hearts of others. And Bishop Randy says to you, go out there and do something beautiful. Be present. Be kind. Do something beautiful. And the most beautiful thing you'll ever do is to love. To love in small, practical ways. And yeah, if the opportunity to love in large, seemingly impractical ways presents itself, take the leap. Do something beautiful, folks. Because you know, right? Ugly is getting done to death in this world of sorrow and pain. I'm calling for you to join me in the pursuit of love. Rise and shine, you all. Happy trails, and may love conquer all enemies by loving all enemies. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the No BS Bishop podcast. If you like the show, leave a comment on it. Or, even better, share it with your friends. And we'll see you on the next one.